Hey, welcome back to the table. So I realized that for the folks who didn't watch the first playthrough, they're going to want me to slow down a little bit and go through this. So let's do this. The campaign is actually quite complicated to. Well, let me rephrase it. It's easy to get going, but the rules make it harder than it sounds, or harder than it really is. Okay, so first of all, you have a setup here. So in your rule book, there's a section called Setup, right? Ignore that for now, and just jump straight into Chapter 1 of whichever campaign that you're playing. That's the first thing that you got to know to do. And again, it's all in the rules. There's no, it's not like they forgot to tell you. It's just that it's wonky. Okay, so as you can see there, a cloudy morning breaks over Hawthorne. This isn't top-notch writing. Whoever wrote it likes to use big words. In fact, there was one word that we ran into. I didn't even know what it means, and I had to go look it up, and I still shake my head at it. But anyways, we're basically going into this town of Hawthorne, and I'll let you pause the screen and read what's going on here. But we're going to see Mayor Bolton. And so, first thing that's important from a gameplay perspective is this part right here, is that we need to perform the first two steps of game setup, then each hero gains a focus. That each hero gains a focus is not normal in setup, so that's special just for your very first time playing in this campaign. Now, what does it mean by first two of setup? Well, it's that same page I brought here in the rulebook. I'm going to put it in sideways here. We're going to place the game board, and then we choose and set up our heroes. So we get the character card and equipment card from the deck. I'll show all that in a second. And then we shuffle our hero deck, put it face down, and then each player places a turn card and 3 action tokens face up. So let's talk about what those first two steps are and get you through that. So I got to take this out of the way real quick. And let's get to, this is the game. And I apologize, my cord started to get in the way here. So I need to, yeah, there we go. And then this part here is just my other camera. All right, so what are we talking about? Well, for every player, you have a player card. So that's this. So Mr. Ulrich here has his player card, and you'll easily know what it is because it has all 6 of these symbols. This is strength, endurance, dexterity, wisdom, charisma, and magic. Okay, and then he'll have a number. That's his skill in each of those areas. This is his armor. This is his health points. This is his range for doing this skill that you see below where it says exhaust. That's Gavin Ulrich, okay? So they're telling you to get that card out. And then also get out his equipment. They all come with 2 cards. I don't know of any exceptions. So this guy comes with a 2-handed sword. And how do I know it's 2-handed? Because it says you cannot equip an offhand card. Alright, it comes with a 2-handed sword and he comes with a pendant. Everybody's different. So if we look at Rowan here, he comes with a rope and a dagger. Willow comes with a lute, the instrument kind of lute, and a slingshot. Okay, and then Cedrin Highmore comes with a steel mace and a Star of Aluna, which is the most awesome thing in the game. Well, no, the rope is the most awesome thing in the game. That's second. Okay, so sorry about the wobbly camera, but all they're basically asking you to do is to get all of those out, because you start the game with those on the table. Then you shuffle your cards and you draw 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's your hand. So that's in your hand, and that's what I have up here. These are the 4 cards that I drew for each character, and This guy, I did have them here in the rail system, but I put them down because the game board's there and I need to put my camera in. So it's more for camera purposes. And then they're telling you every player has 3 of these because you get 3 actions every turn. So this shows that you've used an action. And then it says every player gets a focus. That's this. So every player gets this. This is the inventory for Rowan. I have a little cup here. That says anything that's on her card goes in here. Same for Gavin. And then for Hightower, Highmore. I'm going to call him Hightower because it's a police academy thing. And then we're going to do this. And yeah. Now, this guy uses special tokens, so I have those over here. She uses special melody tokens, so I have those over there. That's just a pool that we can pull from. Okay? These other tokens you need to just set up aside. You'll be good to go. And yes, we have some cards over there that are shuffled and ready to go. And we'll get into those in a minute. Okay, that's all it's basically asking you to do. To set up your heroes, you pick who you're going to play. And then this is the card that it's also mentioning. You're going to have a card that tells you what you can do on your turn and what happens when it's not your turn. So I put those here. I have it on this side up and then the other side because obviously I'm the only player. So I don't need to do this in front of every player. Okay, so with that said, let's get back to regularly scheduled programming. So I'm going to put this down. And we're going to move back to the other camera with this. Okay, so go ahead and pause. You can keep reading. Basically, the Queen gives you instructions. They're very clear. She wants you to meet with Mayor Bolton. But she also tells you to find Huey because she trusts him. And it was her more discreet instructions. So there's this guy named Huey that we can search for, or you can head to the estate immediately. Huey's one of those weird characters. I don't want to spoil it too much if you play. You can go the other way. But basically, if you're watching this video, you're getting spoiled. So I'm going to not be one of those anal people that's trying not to spoil you while I'm spoiling you. Basically, if you search for Huey, there's a good chance you're going to get him in your party as an ally. If you don't search for him, he doesn't join your party as an ally, and you're just going to play with sad face because having him in your party is better than not having him in your party. Now, as you get to learn about Huey when you read the story, he is a weird character and maybe not very trustworthy, but for now, in terms of gameplay purposes, I highly recommend you search for Huey. So, just like a Choose Your Own Adventure, we would pause and go to 18, and so let's do that. At the end of the book, there's all these numbers, so we find 18 right here. Time is of the essence, but you remember the Queen's instructions about keeping the search for him discreet. So we can ask a guard, or we can spend some time searching for him ourselves. Now this is the weird part, because we're supposed to be discreet, so let's go walk up to a guard and say, hey, I'm looking for Huey. I actually don't know which one gets you Huey. We did this in the first campaign playthrough, and I can't remember which one I chose. And in the first campaign, we did get Huey. I think that we did not ask a guard because I was trying to remain discreet. I'm not sure it matters, but we're going to not ask a guard. We're just going to... well, maybe we should ask for a guard. I'm trying to remember here. Yeah, let's not ask for a guard. So we're going to go to 13. Okay? So 13 is over here. I think there. So I'll let you pause to read. So we go into a throng of villagers, and then it says something like about remembering that we need to be discreet so we don't mention it to the guard, and every hero gains another focus. So I'm not going to take the paper away. I'm just pointing out that we're going to get these again. So every hero now has a second focus. You have a maximum limit of 5 focus. Okay, so next, a hero gains the Potion of Healing search card. So there's this search deck. It looks like this. Okay, you just got to go through the deck and find the Potion of Healing and then reshuffle. So this is actually an awesome start. I would say this is probably the best start, to be quite honest. I haven't played all the other ones. In the playthrough that I just finished with my friends, we did not look for Huey, because I let my friends choose since I knew about Huey. So I let them decide, and they chose not to look for Huey. And to be quite honest, we had a harder game. So this Potion of Healing is awesome. I'm going to give it to Mr. Yorwick, because I think he's going to be taking some damage. Okay. So we found the Potion of Healing. Then we gladly accept her offer and ask if she knows someone called the Wanderer. She giggles, that's Huey. She tells you that he's in a library. So it tells us up here that we're going to go look for the library. And let me move this so you can actually see. So we give her a silver current and head towards the library. So now we go to 22. So the Choose Your Adventure bounces you around quite a bit. Hard to do on a camera. Easy to do in your game table. So then we get here, and I'll let you pause so you can read. And Huey wants to go see the mayor together, is basically what he's saying. So we add Huey to the journal. Now, what does that mean? So, see that number 5 there? So you got to take the Luxor cards. And what are those cards, Jeff? I will show you in a second. I'm just pulling it out of my... This game takes a huge footprint on your table. If you have a small table, you're going to hate this game. Okay, so we have these cards that are called Out of Luxor, I guess is the best way to word it. And they look like this. And when you flip them over, oh hey, it's on top. They have numbers on them at the bottom. So see that number there? And you're supposed to put them in numerical order. It doesn't matter. We've been playing this so much. What they're telling you is to grab that. So we got an ally, number 5. And that's what this is saying right here. Add 5 Huey to the journal. Now, when it says add somebody to the journal, it just means that he's in your party now. So if you get equipment and you add it to your journal, it's equipment that any of your players can equip. And then Huey is an ally that any of your players can control. So if you're playing a multiplayer game with your friends, you would add Huey to your one of the players' play area, and they would control Huey. I think we just sort of all agreed together what Huey should do, but technically speaking, he's under the control of one player. So it doesn't matter, because he takes his turn whenever you want, and it's just got to be in between player turns. Okay? Alright. I'm noticing that my voice is coming across loud. I'm going to turn it down a little bit. And I also get complaints that when I turn it down, that people turn up their YouTube volume on their computer, and then the ad comes in and it's super loud. So I'm trying to find the right balance here. So, all right. So it says add Huey to the journal and then go to 10. So my apologies. There's always a huge delay. I have to actually stand up and lean over my table to do this. So then we go over here to 10. I'll pause and let you read. We basically enter the mayor's manor, and a vampire is the mayor. Yes, that's what I'm saying. There's a vampire that's actually the mayor of the town. What? And he's a friend of the queen. Anyways, Huey doesn't really like him very much. So, and you'll see that in the text. The Queen sent word of your arrival, and it comes at Hawthorne's most desperate hour. Help me, Obi-Wan. You're our only hope. Okay, so please join me in my study. And what it doesn't do is like it ends here, and then you're like, okay, well now what? Where do I go? What you're supposed to do is go back to the campaign and continue where you left off, and where you left off was here. Right? We made the choice to search for Huey. So now we're finally continuing the story here. And I know that's crazy because it didn't say. It just sort of like left you hanging. And maybe I'm the only person who thought that was a bit cheesy and awful. It seems like everybody else in the world knew exactly what to do. But I'm like, what the heck? And I'm having a cow over that. Sorry, I was having a caffeine break there. So then you start reading the rest of this. And I'll go ahead and pause, and you can read that. And then you have to read all of this. And it gives you some background that you're in this place called Arctica, and nobody cares about Arctica. Or at least I don't. This is where the story gets a little drab. But basically, there's Raglanders that are encroaching on the lands from the west. So something is causing them to come here. Either they're being scared away from something, or they're being more aggressive. He doesn't know. So the mayor was trying to move some goods from one estate to another. And he basically had stuff stolen from him. So when that stuff was stolen from him, he had to, what's the right word? He wants you to recover it. That's basically what the gist of this is. But here, he's continuing with his report. Every hero gains one supply. Supply is this. Supply is a party item, meaning that even though every hero gets one, there's a common supply pool. So any hero can use a supply. It's not that my hero has one supply, your hero has 0. We all share the supply together. But it's important to point out, though, that the reason it says that is because in a 4-player game you get 4 supply, and in a 1-player game you would only get 1. Why does it matter? Well, at the end of the mission and in between missions, supply is the primary way that you get new equipment, and also supply is how you heal. So if you're playing with 4 characters, you basically have 4 healing items. If you're playing with 1 character, you only need 1 healing item. It keeps the balance of the game. So we'll just leave it at that, but basically we have 4 supply is what happens. And the mayor sits down again, and there's more stuff for you to read. And then we get to here. If the mysterious stone is in the journal. I'm sorry. We can ask why Morse or his personal guards can't recover the urn themselves. If the mysterious stone is in the journal, we go to 16. If Huey is in the journal, we go to 6. Now, what's interesting is we didn't get a mysterious stone, so maybe there was a better way to go to get that. The mysterious stone is, it's nice to have. It's not a must-have, so don't worry about it if you didn't get it. But obviously, there's a different choice path that leads to that. Maybe that's if you ask the guard. All right, so I think we went this way in our last campaign. We'll do it again. We're going to go to 6. So yes, once again, we're jumping to the back. I think this took an hour to get through last time. I'll let you pause and read. Huey is basically upset that his pale friend had something stolen. He's hoping that the thralls don't get to it. I wondered what the heck is a thrall. It doesn't really explain. A thrall is a vampire, but apparently it's not the mayor vampire because there's 2 types of vampires. Or the vampire was a thrall, but now he's not. I don't know. It's just a weird thing. And so basically we read that and then we pop back. and then we flip the page. And then we finally get to the rest of the setup, and we can move on with the game. I will let you pause. Basically, he's just saying, go get the item, and then we do quest setup. So here, we have to find the Raglander's lair. It has a cruel stench that's basically pigs. A Raglander is pig in this game. And they smell so bad that we have to do a endurance test of 2. And each hair that fails suffers 2 damage. Okay, we're going to talk about damage a lot in this game. But suffering damage means you can't block it. There's no armor or anything like that can block when you suffer damage. Now, when we deal damage, they can't block it. So we actually have a way to do damage to them where they can't block it as well. It's called deal. Now, when they normally attack us, it's called inflict. Inflict is something we can block. And then there's a resist. That's something we cannot block. So there's a lot of weird words. They have multiple words that mean the same thing. Resist is the same as suffer, except you can block resist with dice rolls, but you can't block it with your armor, is what I guess I'm trying to say. A suffer can't even be blocked with a dice roll. So that's really the nutshell there. I'm sure some nerd's going to chime in and tell me or word it better than I just did, and that's fine. I'm all cool with that. Okay, so next it's going to tell us, okay, this is the quest deck you're going to use, this is the threat deck you're going to use, and this is the villain deck you're going to use. And I will take you through those. We'll get those set up, and then it's basically telling you what to do. And then we stop. This little campaign key is what happens when we win or lose. If we win, we do the stuff up here. If we lose, we do the stuff down here. So we're done with the choose your own adventure part. At least 40 minutes quicker than last time, because that's how long it took to read everything. So I'm just going to set this campaign book aside. We don't need it from here on out. The one thing is we do need the quests and the stuff like that. So what I have is we have a couple of these things set up. First of all, these are the player characters, and then in the back here you can see these red ones here are the villains. So the first villain that we're going to be dealing with is Gert. So I'm going to get Gert out, and then all the cards that go with Gert. Let's put those down. And then I really don't use this the rest of the time. And then way over here, I have another one, and we're looking for search. The search. And I think it's in the front here, so we grab the search and all of its cards. And then we need to grab the Raglanders, which are these guys. And boom. We have everything we need to start the quest. And let me put the camera down somewhere safe. Maybe orient it a little bit better. Okay. So let's start with the Raglanders, since I have it in my hand. These are just the card dividers. I like to keep the card dividers with the cards because it's just nice to have. The important thing is that every these are called like minions, if you will. It's called the threat deck. Every threat deck has a threat token card like this. Threat tokens mean something different for every threat deck. So, for example, the Raglanders, the threat tokens represent stench. Basically, they ate a Taco Bell. And when you accumulate threat tokens on a monster or whatever, they're going to cause stench damage to you, potentially. For example, the vampires, when we run into those, they use threat tokens just like this. But the threat tokens actually heal them, right? Because they suck your blood and it revitalizes them. So threat tokens are different from card to card. And this is the Sadler Brothers, claim to fame, as they do this crap all the time. I am okay with it. It's fun, but I just want to say that the rules, just like if you play a chip theory game, the rules are everywhere. They're buried everywhere. And if you don't know where to look, you can be really overwhelmed and actually quite frustrated. So the rules for a threat token is here. These are rules that you need to know about for this mission only, or anytime you use this Raglander deck. You're not going to find these rules in the rulebook. They're just not even there. And there's not even an explanation in the rulebook that you're supposed to look for this, like I just explained to you. That's not even in the rulebook. It's just pure bunk. The rulebook could have been 1,000 times better, even though everything you need is there. So here's what I recommend. You shuffle this deck, and you just lay this side by side, like that. And so that's what we're going to do. I have a spot over here on my green screen, because I'm trying to keep everything within reach. And so I'm going to put this here for reference. I know what it does, but from time to time I have to look it up. And then I shuffle the deck and I put that there. And we're going to be drawing from that quite regularly. So make sure it's close by. Okay, the next thing we have to do is the villain deck. Now the villain, think of him as the boss, the kingpin. So that's Gert. This is just a divider. And I'm going to once again put that over. And I'm trying to make sure it doesn't show up on the camera all the time. And the kingpin is always going to have a picture. And yes, if you watched my first playthrough, I screwed up and didn't know that he spawned. He actually does spawn. But what you do is you flip him over to the other side. So this card, you start the game or the mission with this side up. And right here is an activate that's going to activate every time you get to the villain phase of the game. And once again, this is rules for this mission that this deck is dictating to you. So the activate that's going to happen is we're going to have to do we either need to discard an armor token or do a resist 3 blue, which is insight or wisdom or whatever. And then there's a diamond effect that could happen depending on the alter dice. Okay, so that's something that's going to happen to us all the time, in between every round. And then you have a Gert deck, and you shuffle that. And what I'm doing, once again, if I can flip this around, I'm just laying it off to the side, like so, and you can see my hand showing up over here. Like if I move my card slightly to the right, it's going to start showing up on the screen, the other camera. So I'm trying to keep it off the other camera, but again, I want it to be close by, so I'm actually going to just slide it down like this, because these are really, I actually have to stand up to reach the Raglanders right now, so I'm going to just move everything down, and you can see this is sticking out too much, so I'm going to move those in, and same with this. Alright, so I'm really on the edge there. Okay. Alright, with that said, we got one final deck, and this is the most confusing of them, and that is the search one. So what I recommend is you're going to need a lot of space for your features and your search. Don't confuse this. This is search cards. That is not the same as the search mission. Okay? The search mission, I like to put right here in the corner of the game board. And this lurker deck, just shuffle. Those search cards, by the way, also just shuffle. And those, you just put them aside, and they're going to have a draw and discard each. And then this we'll talk about in a second. Okay? So the search is going to have a set of rules. Again, just for the search quest. And then there's going to be a deck of search cards. So we're going to just set the deck of search cards down. And we're going to flip this to the side that says setup. Okay? And I'm going to put this over here so you can read what it says. And let's move it over this way. Alright, it says setup. When building the feature deck, shuffle together the altar found and 2 other feature cards. Okay. So, per the game setup, it's in the rule book, believe it or not. There is a limit of 7 cards, and yes, I screwed this up in my first playthrough. Okay, first thing you got to do is find this altar found card. Just set it aside, okay? Then, take the rest of the deck and shuffle it. And what you're going to do is you're going to grab 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them, okay? The rest of the cards, and if you have all the expansions like I do, you're going to have 5 more cards. These 5 cards are out of the game. They're not used for this mission. And that was the mistake I made in the first playthrough, a very large mistake. So now what the setup for the quest is saying is out of these 7 cards, we're going to take the bottom 2, okay? And then we're going to take this altar found and we're going to mix it inside of that and then shuffle, shuffle. Which I'm going to do off camera and chat with you for a bit so I don't... When there's only 3 cards, I sort of remember which one's which, but I'm chatting with you enough and thinking about, you know, what else? What are you supposed to think about? Naked nuns or whatever? I guess that's not a normal thing to think about. It's actually quite disturbing. But see, I successfully distracted myself from remembering which one was which. So here we go. I got this, and then I'm just going to place this underneath. So you're going to have that go underneath. And yes, the altar found card is going to be one of the bottom 3 cards of this deck. So yes, we have to plow through this deck till we get to the bottom 3. And I'm guessing, I know because I've played this before, that those bottom 3 are going to be what we're gunning for to win this match. And that is absolutely true. So now we come back over to here. And we finish the setup. So we take the 2 other feature cards, place them at the bottom, remove each clue card from the quest deck and shuffle them to make another deck. Sorry for I tried to pause the recording here, but I ended up receiving a phone call. So I was interrupted for about 15 minutes here, trying to remember and recollect my thoughts. So what we were doing is we were setting up the search. So what it says is that you need to look for the clue cards, which has a keyword clue right there. You see that? A lot of people on Board Game Geek complaining about how hard that is to read. I mean, I guess it looks very clear to you there, but when you put it far away, it's sometimes you don't even notice it's there until you look at it closer. So what's the gist of this? So basically, we're going to go into a room. We're going to draw cards from this deck, which we're now going to shuffle. And these cards are going to say, attach it to the feature of the room. Every room's going to have a feature. And one of these cards is basically going to attach itself to that feature. That's not the case with every other scenario, but for this scenario, that's what's going to happen. Then these clue cards. You can see here that there's 2 torn maps. One's like the left half, the other one's the right half. You need to get both of them together to make a complete clue. And we have to collect clues equal to the number of players in the party. And once we have that, then we go to the altar, and we got to do something. Oh, we got to put the clues on the altar at the... once we find the altar. Remember, the altar is one of the bottom 3 cards of the feature deck. So it's going to be one of the final 3 rooms that we go into. We go to the altar. Each player, or we have to have clues for... We have to have 4 completed clues that we hand in at the altar. And it doesn't need to be each player. It could just be... It's just 1 for each player. We have to have 4. If you're playing solitaire by yourself with 1 character, it's just 1. The allies don't count. And then the clue cards you shuffle, and you also put those next to it. I'm going to put them a bit further down. Okay. And how do I know all that? Well, because once we finish setup, and my camera locked up while I was on pause. So let's see if this works now. Oh, come on. sec. Okay, got it all sorted out. This works again. Okay, so it's saying separate the clue deck, which is what we did, and then we flip this over. So now, during the gameplay, these are the rules up here at the top, and then this activate here is what happens throughout the course of the game. So basically, for the rules, it's saying if there's one P quest, the P stands for number of players, so 1 times the number of players, quest tokens on this card, and each hero is on the stairs tile, the heroes have found the artifact and win the game. Now, the thing that's confounding, and it's going to really upset you at first, is it's like, well, how do I put a quest token on that card? It doesn't tell you. That's because the clue cards, when you draw them, tell you. So once you get a matching clue, where you get the left half of the map, right half of the map, then you have to go to an altar, and then, and only then, do you get to place a quest token. If you hand those in, you get to put it on here. And then once you have 4 of them on there, and you get back to the stairs, which we haven't talked about the stairs yet, but once you get back to the stairs, then you win, which is the way out. Now this activate is just what's going to happen when we get to the quest phase of the game. Everybody who controls a clue is going to have bad things happen, etc. And at any time, a hero may discard any number of clues they control. So basically, if you have clues you don't need, you can toss them. In a 4-player game, that's not going to be the case. We need all the clues. I was playing a 2-player game, and we obviously found clues that, we had like the left half of something, but not the right. And then we eventually found the right half of something else. Well, I don't need the left half of the first thing I found, so I just discarded it. That's what this rule here is trying to say. And we'll talk about like the activate and what happens as we play. And if you watch the first campaign, I didn't screw it up that much. I mean, all that stuff is in there. And the last thing we do is we place the stairs. So you can see that there's a stairs token there. And we need to place the stairs anywhere on the game board that we choose. There is like one particular mission where in the setup phase it tells you the stairs need to be in the corner. But this is not the case. So you could put it anywhere. For this particular mission, I recommend you put it towards the middle. We tried the corner last time, and that was not a smart move. We even tried the corner again in my second playthrough. That was not recorded, and we found that that was not the smartest thing to do. In the middle is the best. And the reason is because this particular mission, we not only have to explore the dungeon, but we have to make it back to the stairs. Some of these missions, the winning conditions is just make it to the altar and do something, right? And then you win. Here, you got to do something and then get back to the stairs. So you want the stairs to be in a central area, and you never want to be too far away from the stairs. That's the point I'm trying to make here. Okay, so with that being said, we're ready. And, one final thing. I was a little bit of a liar. One final thing, and then we're ready. We have these altar dice, and we're going to roll them, and then we're ready. So that's our altar dice, and I'm going to put them over on my green screen here, and we're going to line them along the side so you can always see them. And this particular one is going to be hard because it's green, just like the green screen, but you can see the 3 wavy lines for that, or if it looks convoluted like that one does, then you know that that's because it is a green one. What's interesting is this one's also green, but it's coming in, oh, there you go, it got screwed up. Alright, so 2 of those are the green. It represents air, like those are waves of air. Anyways, I'm just going to leave those so you can see them while we play and know what altar dice we have to deal with. Okay, players, when we do a hero turn, we do this. So you can see the card here. And in fact, I'm going to bring it up to my other camera because it's a little bit closer. And I'm realizing we lost it. I don't know what's going on. Here we go. So this here is what you do on a hero turn. You can move, you can do a card action, interact, play action card, draw a card, rest, and channel. And then after every player has taken their turn doing 3 of these things, then we flip it over and we do a threat phase, a villain phase, and then a quest phase. And there's going to be an activate that happens there, there's an activate that happens here, and there's an activate that happens there. Okay? Alright, we're on this. So, we get to pick the order that players go. The only stipulation is they have to complete their turn. You can't interrupt one player's turn and do one action for another player's turn. None of that stuff, okay? Okay, first thing is an easy one. Move up to 3 spaces. Diagonals count. Diagonals are considered adjacent in this game. You can use diagonals, and yes, there's a lot of nerds that have discussed these types of boards where diagonals allow you to cheat, because you can use less movement points if you use diagonals instead of going orthogonally. I get it. It's all allowed in this game. You can go diagonally, okay? The only issue with move that you need to be extremely aware of is a door can only be moved orthogonally. You can't go diagonally through a door. That's the only thing. And then line of sight is the same way. It's only through a door. It's not diagonally, and only if that door has been opened. Right now, every door is considered closed. And the enemy monsters have no way to open doors. They can never, ever open a door. Unless some mission or something allows them to. Okay, next one. Card action. Resolve an action listed on a card you control. See that there? You control. You control is the cards that you control. The ones that are in front of you. Not the ones in your hand. Like these cards are in Ulrich's hand. These are the cards he controls. He controls 3 of them. So this one has the keyword action on it. That would cost 1 of his 3 action points. Okay? In fact, his points are here. That would cost 1 of his 3 action points. Alright? Now, if he does this exhaust, he can exhaust this. That does not cost an action point. In fact, he can exhaust it and then still do the action. That's the thing we were talking about. He can exhaust this, but then he can't do the top one. He can only do one or the other. Okay? This says use. That does not use an action. It just uses the card. The use makes the card go away. But it does not use an action. It's very, very clear. The only time you use an action is if the card says action. Okay? Now, that card action, again, is for the cards that are in your air control. These cards in your hand are not in your control. Okay? So you do not... now this card here says action on it, right there. See the word action? That's actually what this means. Play action card. Play and resolve 1 active action card from your hand. So I know it sounds like it's very semantical, 6 or 1/2 dozen, right? But all I'm trying to do is help you to understand the difference between the 2 lines so you don't get confused. Action on a card you control is these, not the ones in your hand. Play an action card is the one from your hand, but not these. That's the best way I explained it to the people that I gamed with on this when we did multiplayer. And they seem to get it. Okay, interact. If there's an interact listed on any card in play, that's an action. Okay? Or you use an action point to do it. Draw a card. You can draw a card from your deck. This is just like any deck building game where you have a deck of cards that you can draw from. So you can draw a card and it would go in your hand. It's very important because you could play through a lot of the cards in your hand. Rest. You can discard a supply to heal 2 damage. That's these tokens. You can just get rid of 1 to heal 2. It costs you an action. I didn't do that enough in the last campaign I did. That cost me. And the last one is one, it's a very situational one, but it can be powerful. Channel. You can gain a focus and change an alter die to a result of your choice. That's one of these dice here. You can change it to anything you'd like. Then after you're done, you get to draw a card for free. That doesn't cost an action. No matter what, you always get to draw a card at the end of your turn, and then of course it's the end of your turn. Alright, so these dice that are here, what they do is they allow you to do those optional powers. So for example, the Sword of Ulrich here. So you can see that's Ulrich's sword. And then at the bottom here, sorry, I just knocked something over. At the bottom here, it says exhaust, and then it shows a picture of a flame, a red flame. That's this thing, right there. Okay? So it says deal 1 damage to an enemy within range. So that red flame, if you have it on one of these dice, if you ever played Mage Knight, this works just like Mage Knight. You get to spend that die to deal damage to an enemy within range. And then you re-roll that red flame, and whatever you roll it to, that's what it is next. Unlike Mage Knight, you can use as many of these dice as you want. There's no limit. If you want to use every die here, and then even after re-rolling it, and whatever it becomes after you roll it, you want to use that again, you can. You can keep reusing the same die. You just have to use whatever it rolls, the new outcome is of the roll. But once this is exhausted, even if there was another flame here, I can't use it a second time, because that's what exhaust means. Okay? Alright, so these alter dice, when you see how we want to change an alter die or do something to an alter die, it's because we're looking for a specific type of symbol. It's all going to make sense, but that's really the thing. And every player is looking for certain types of symbols based on, the cards they have in their hand. Now, one thing I want to make very well known here is that this is the villain card, Gert. The Gert has a special ability that triggers if there's a diamond. See this little diamond here? Well, that's this thing, and this one. So if either of these dice were to still be there with the diamond face up, when it becomes Gert's turn, Gert is going to use one, and he's going to give every minion an armor token, which is bad for us. Boo hiss. So part of the game is we want to use these dice to help us, but they also help the enemy too. And not every enemy looks for diamond. This particular one does. So you have to... This is where the game gets really cumbersome. It's bad enough that you're keeping track of all the cards in your hand and in front of you, but now you got to keep track of what every enemy wants too. And some of the strategy is you want to deny them of what they're looking for. Yeah, and that's something you... if you play as Quella, or Kayla, however you pronounce that mage's name, Quella, Kayla. If you play as Kayla, she has the ability to manipulate these dice. And that might be something powerful you may want to consider, because manipulating these dice can really deny the enemy of things that they're looking for. Okay, so with that said, let's go ahead and get going. Number one priority in a mission, the first mission here at least, is we need to get into a room and open a door. When you're playing with ally characters, or if you're playing with the character Gwendol, Gwendol has a kitty cat that's like she's basically like a druid or a ranger that has a cat that is like a pet that follows her around. Use one of them to open the door, because they only have one action anyways, so they move and they do an action. Having them open the door is usually very powerful, but we don't have that luxury. Rowan is really good at exhausting minions and getting rid of traps. So with all of those options in mind, who's best? Believe it or not, the cleric Cedrin Highmore is pretty good at holding his own. But I think we're going to have just Ulrich von Liechtenstein, and he's going to go first. He's the guy holding the big sword because he's compensating for something. And he's the one that's going to go first. All right? So, first thing we're going to do, I know I'm picking up the camera to show the most silly of things. We're going to spend an action. Bing. All right? So Ulrich is going to spend an action. And we're going to move, and let's open this room first. 1, 2, 3. So one of the first things you do is you put an open door there, which sometimes gets in the way of the camera when it's annoying, but that shows that the door's open, and now monsters can and will go through there. Next thing you do is, in the rulebook, there's a list of 3 things that you do when you go through a door. The first thing you do is you take the feature deck Remember, we shuffled those, and the altar found is in the bottom 3. You just draw the top card. And the top card is a fungal patch, which is actually really good. Everything that you think is bad in this game is good, and the other way around, like vampires. You would think a pig is harmless, or a frog. Okay, so this fungal patch is going to be a feature in that room that we just went in. And so what you do is you put the fungal patch along the edge of the board. And you're going to need room for all the different features. Every room is going to have its own feature, and every room is going to have its own set of rules. This game gets overwhelming, folks. Okay, so with that said, fungal patch, we're going to put it down, and then I need to find it in the miniatures. And believe it or not, I'm actually pretty good at finding these things now. So I already have it. I don't even need to pause. Here it is. That's what the fungal patch looks like. And we put it here. There's these white arrows. The biggest white arrow is if it was a single space location. If there's 2 locations, it goes on the 2 white arrows. And then, of course, if it's bigger than that, it goes on the 4 spaces there. So that's the feature. So first thing that happens, feature gets put in a room and it goes in that exact location. It can't go anywhere else. Okay? Anytime you go into that room, features always go to that exact location. Now, it is important to look at the card. Activate is what happens between player turns, and then interact is something we can do on our turn for an action. Activate, a hero adjacent to it can deal damage to any enemy in the room. So if you're standing next to this thing after your turn's over, you can just automatically do damage to someone. And dealing damage, when you see it worded that way, that ignores the enemy armor. It goes straight through. So it's 1 damage that they cannot block. Okay, interact is usually a search. I think almost every time it is. And the search function is actually pretty well done in this game. I actually like that mechanic a lot. But what it's saying is you do a search using the orange keyword, endurance, and then for every supply gained during this test, deal 1 damage to an enemy. Okay, so searches probably better explained when we actually do one. But let's say Ulrich wanted to do a search. If he's in that room, if he's 1 space away from the mushrooms, he can do a search using this mushroom card. Okay, his orange value is 2. So that means he would get to roll 2 dice, and let's say they both succeed. He gets 2 successes. Well, the first success would let him draw a search card from the search deck. And don't confuse that with the fact that this quest is called The Search. That's a different thing. And that's going to be things like the healing potion that we have in our inventory right now. Okay. After that happens, we put a quest token on to here. So then in the future, if we do a search, you need to have 2 successes to find something, because it's just showing that the room's getting depleted. It's already been searched once, and every time you search, it gets harder and harder. But that's not all. Every success you have above and beyond the number it took for you to draw a search card, you get a supply token. So if you got 2 successes in this case, you would get a search card, and since you have 1 extra success, you get a supply token. Okay, so what this is saying is that in addition to getting a supply token, a special rule for this room is you also get to do a damage to every enemy. And that's basically what it's doing. Alright, I gotta pause here. Okay, sorry, I had to take another break here. And so basically we revealed the feature. The search function, I sort of explained a little bit about what it does. And we still have 2 more things to do when you enter a room. Okay, the next thing you do is you draw a quest card. So this is the quest deck, not this one. This is the clue cards, right, that they told you to separate. So you always draw from the primary deck, which is the quest deck. And if this deck ever becomes empty, then you no longer draw anything. Same with the feature. If there's no longer if this deck becomes empty, you can no longer go into a new room. So that's another important thing to remember. Okay, so we draw this, and there's flavor text on the top, and then you just do the when revealed. Attach this card to the room's feature card. Then each hero must either discard 1 supply or resist 4 red, which is a might attack. So we're basically getting a strange fatigue, which actually thematically goes really well with mushrooms. Except for the fact that our other heroes are completely in another room, so that sort of makes no sense. But please don't, if you're that anal about thematic details, this game is going to highly disappoint you. So what you do is you attach it, and then I like to just cover up the flavor text and put it on like so. Now the activate keyword, which I didn't read, basically just says that a hero, if they're ever adjacent to these mushrooms, they are allowed to take a clue card. Okay, that's how you get these clue cards, and then draw it into the, any hero can take the clue card. So you can reveal the clue card and then give it to whichever hero you want. And then after you do that, you can then discard this, and it's no longer attached. But right now, we have to deal with the fact that we either have to discard a supply token or do a resist 4 check. Okay, so this is where it gets cumbersome when you're controlling 4 characters. But Willow Banks has only 1 might, so she stinks at might checks. So what that means is she's only going to roll 1 die. And it's going to be really difficult for her to resist 4 damage. Chances are she's only going to be able to resist 1. And then if she only resists 1, then that means she's taking the other 3 in damage. She has 10 health, so that's not very good. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put her on here so you can see her card. And then we got to figure out what we're going to do. Okay, so I think logic would dictate we should probably just give up a supply token. Because in her case, she's likely going to take 3 damage, and a supply token only heals 2. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to take a supply token. They're very important to have, these supply tokens, but there's nothing we can do about it. So I'm going to discard it and call it a day for her. She only has 10 hit points, so we don't want to rock that train too much. The next one I'm going to pull out. And also the language on this card says every hero. So that means even though we have Huey here, he's not a hero, he's just a character. Okay? So that you got to really pay attention to the words being used because they do matter in this one. The next one, that's a problem child. Well, actually, she was the problem child. Everybody else is in better shape. So let's do Rowan next. So Rowan has got 2. So that's not the best in the world. He's probably going to take some damage, but you take 2 damage, or you heal 2 damage with a supply token, and chances are he's going to block 2 of the damage because he's going to get to roll 2 dice. You can pretty much assume that the number of dice you roll is usually what you get to block. Doesn't always work out that way, but it's mostly a good assumption. So I'm going to go ahead and just take my chances. And if I take the 2 damage, fine. I'll heal it some other way. Okay, so I'm going to move my camera a bit so I can have room to roll. And I'm going to take 2 dice, and we're going to roll them. Now, what are we looking for? Well, this is the creme de la creme. It is a critical. And then this is a regular success. And I got to put them next to each other so you can see the difference. My huge gripe with this game is they look very similar. The only difference is you can tell this one has like a circle around it. That's the difference between a crit and a regular. Okay, so it actually looks really good on the camera. It doesn't look as good to the naked eye. Okay, and the other thing you're going to see are these. Those are focus. So you're either paying a focus to add a success, or if you want, you can just collect a focus. But you don't collect until the die rolls over. That actually was one of the errata I had to deal with because I was playing that wrong. And then this one is 1 of each. Okay, all right, let's roll. All right, so what I rolled, you can see on the screen here. This is a crit, and that's a 1 of each. Okay, so I'm already doing way better than I would have if I would have just handed in a supply token. So I have 2 successes, which is what I told you I thought I would get. But this crit, it actually explodes. I don't know a better word for it. It explodes, meaning I get to roll another die. So I'm going to roll another one. And if that was a crit, I'd get to roll again. And I just keep doing it until I don't crit. And so I didn't crit this time. So here's my situation. I have 1, 2, 3 successes. And then I can spend a focus for a 4th. And if I want to spend the focus, I won't take any damage at all. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. Because every character has 2 of these through the Choose Your Own Adventure portion of the game. So Rowan's going to pay 1. And now he took 0 damage. It's just unfortunate we have this, but so now the next one is going to be, so now that Rowan's done, we're going to go ahead and do Cedrin. And he's got the same situation. So he only gets to roll 2 dice. And here you can see we got 2 successes and we don't get to roll anymore. So he's going to take 2 damage. So I'm going to put 2 damage on Cedric Highmore, and he's going back. Alright, so he took 2 damage. I don't know. You would think that since he's like the healer type, that he has all these cool healing cards. He has some, but he doesn't have as many as you might think. Then the last one is the powerhouse. That's Ulrich von Liechtenstein. And there you can see he has 3. So we're going to roll 3 dice, and there's 1, 2, 3 successes, and I can spend a token to make it 4, and I will. So he takes no damage at all, which was expected with him. Alright, so in, what was it, 2 of the 3 cases here, I actually overperform my general rule of if you roll 2 dice, you get 2 successes. You will underperform from time to time. So I think it averages out to 1 per die, but you can see that there's ways to get more. And some of I think the most exciting moments in the game is when it happens, especially when you least expect it. So anyways, all of that just for 1 freaking action. I promise this will speed up, or otherwise we'll never get through this campaign. Okay, so Ulrich here. He finishes 1 action. Oh, we still got more. So there's 3 things that happen when you go in a room. The first was place the feature. The second one was draw the quest card, which we just finished resolving. The third one is we have to draw from the threat deck. The threat deck is this, the Raglanders. So you need to draw 1 for all 4 characters. So I'm going to do it this way. And we'll put this deck back. Okay? So we're drawing 1 for all 4 characters. So this one will be Ulrich, Rowan, the Bard, and the Priest. Okay? So for Ulrich, we're going to get a Raglan Blooder. Okay? And then for Rowan, we're getting a Raglan Burner. And then for the Bard, we're getting a Ragok Cannibal. And then for the Priest, we're getting another Cannibal. Okay, why are we getting... Everybody gets 1. So if you're playing solitaire, you only get 1. You're not going to get 4 like this. I was complaining so much in the first playthrough because if you have to split your party up, that this gets hard. Trust me, don't split up your party in this first mission. It works. Now that the feature deck is limited to just 8 cards, this really does work. It's a long game. That was probably the biggest complaint my friends had, is that every mission is very long. But it's a pretty fun game, and yes, you do work together as a party. I actually do have more respect for this game after playing it like I did. Okay, so I'm showing you everything. Let's go through real quick with the semantics, or the rules, and then I'll go a little quicker from here on out. Every monster will have an armor value. This is how many hit points it has. This is its movement. That's actually green. And then this is the range of its attack. So that guy needs to get up close and personal. This one can shoot from far away because he's throwing grenades, etc., etc. Okay? And then on the bottom here is what they'll do when they activate at the end of the hero turn. They get a turn. Now, they're going to be in a particular player's play area. And so everything in your play area activates from left to right. So let's take the one for Rowan, for example. And for Rowan, I'm putting here. So I'm going to take these other cards and move them a little out of the way. So Rowan, this is his cards that he controls. These are the cards in his hand right here. So I can, even bundle them together like this to show that they're in his hand. Or even better yet, I should probably just put them here. That's actually a good idea. Okay. So this is the cards he controls. Okay. This is him. And this is his threat area. So the burner is going to show up in his threat area, and anytime another enemy or something shows up, it's going to show up going to the right. And then whenever the player turn ends, we're going to start here, and then at the left side, and just like a typewriter, we're going to go through and resolve every activate along the way, and then any bonuses that happen based on alter dice. So we'll get into that phase later, but I just wanted to help you to understand what's happening here. So with that being said, this is going to Ulrich, so I got to put that. I have his threat area actually below him, just because of the way my desk is made out. And then this one goes to Willow Banks, our resident bard. And then this last one is going to Hightower. And yes, I'm going to stay please. So give me a second. I got to go get the miniatures for these, and then we'll talk about where they go. And I'll move the camera up here to that room so you can see that room, and then we'll talk about where they go and all that stuff. If you watched the first playthrough, I apologize. You already know this stuff, but I'm just doing it for clarity, and I'll be back. Okay, so I have Ulrich has the Raglan Blooder. I'll show you the picture again. So that mean looking thing. The one thing you need to pay attention to is, see right here, that little red diamond or that red gem. That's important because you take this little Raglan Blooder and then you take a red base, because there could be more than one on the board, and we're going to run into that actually very soon here. So you take the red base, and then you look in the room for a dark space with a hole in it. That's where they spawn from. They come out of the ground or whatever. So he goes there. And then you just go through. It doesn't matter which one was first. The Raglan Burner is yellow. So I'm just doing that off camera here real quick. And then it shows up in the closest. So the first one goes exactly in that spot. The second one goes around it, but closest to the hero. And then we have a green and a red cannibal. And yes, they are eating meat. So the brothers didn't shy away from the cannibal aspect of it. And this is a case where we have two of them, right? And so one has a green base, one has a red base. And the whole idea behind this is Willow here has the green one. And Ulrich, Hightower has the blue one. Why did I grab a green one? I totally screwed up. Hightower has a blue one. And so you just know which one's which. Now, me grabbing the green one, I don't even know what I was doing there. It's supposed to be a blue. So if you decide to attack this one, then you know it's the one in front of Hightower. When they move around, you sort of can lose track of which one was which, right? It's about as well done of a system, and yes, I screwed that up in my first playthrough as well. I thought they were supposed to go under the hero characters, but that's not the case. Okay, so we finally finished what happens when you enter a room. Those are the three things that happen. You draw a feature, you draw a quest card, and then you draw a threat card for every player in the game and it goes into their threat area. Okay? Sometimes it'll be an event and then you just resolve the event and there's nothing that goes in the player area, but the card will tell you what it does. Okay? Alright, so we have 4 nasty guys and Ulrich is standing there and he's really sick of long-winded YouTubers who take forever to make a turn. So he wants to go in and let's rough some people up. So let's do that. So first thing we need to do is what else can he do on his turn, and that is dictated by his cards. So we can see here that Ulrich has a sword that he can just go in and beat them on the head with. So we can do that. It doesn't have any movement though. And its range is 1, so we would have to move 1 more time. We are literally 1 space away from being able to do that. So then it becomes, okay, is there anything that would let me move and then do something? And there is. This one here, you can move up to 3 spaces and attack. And you could reduce the target's defense by 1, but only if you have inspiration token, which we don't have yet. So that's a potential issue. Or is it? Maybe we can figure out a way to get an inspiration token before we play that card. Okay, so there's a lot of chaining these things, right? Now these two are the same. So I'm going to pick up this card and you can see that you have 2 Light of the Luminaires. They're the same, so I'm just going to consolidate those. And what this is you play it on a hero within range. They can use it to discard 1 inspiration to move 2 spaces and perform an action. Okay, that's like an extra action. You can play it on anybody. It doesn't have to be played on yourself. And the keyword ongoing means it stays there until you use it. And I'll just get this out of the way. The ongoing keyword tends to be used on anything that you can play on another player. So if it's something that you only play on yourself, it'll never say ongoing. Because you would just play it on yourself and be done. But you could give this to somebody and they can hold on to it. Now, one thing they can do while holding on to it is this exhaust thing at the bottom. So they can exhaust it to discard an inspiration to heal damage or gain an inspiration as much as they want. It's not until they use it that it would go away. And that's a very interesting concept. And it says within range, and the range for this is floor. And you go orthogonally through a door. Remember that. You can't go diagonally through a door. Okay, so, and range does not require line of sight for something like this. If you're attacking, yes, line of sight necessary, but not for this. This is not a line of sight situation. So we could give those out like candy and give them to people so they could exhaust fire and gain an inspiration or even use it to heal. So who has damage? Well, the Hightower has damage. I don't know if I want to necessarily give it to him, but I think what I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to give one to myself. So I'm going to scroll this down, and we're going to play one on my... Oh, no, that's an action. Never mind. I have to spend an action to play that card, so I don't want to do that yet. Okay, let's go back to this one. We want to move. And, oh, by the way, this is a reaction. You only play that... based on what it says. Play this card when a hero within range would suffer damage. So when Hightower suffered damage from me entering the room and drawing the quest card, we could have played that card, discarded an inspiration token for each damage that would be suffered to cancel it. The problem is nobody has inspiration cards. So don't want to get too crazy about that yet. Okay. And one of the things I'm realizing I might do is I might move the cards he's in control of down and then put the enemies up here, because there's usually a lot less enemies in the threat area than cards, but we'll worry about that later. Okay, so here's the thing that I'm really eyeing up right here. Inspiring Leadership. Exhaust a diamond. Choose a hero within range to gain an inspiration. Okay, so the diamond, you can see that we have one right here. So we're going to exhaust that diamond, and then we're going to grab an inspiration, and he's going to give it to himself. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and this card actually should be up here. So we can see he has, besides my dog's fur, apologize, we have 1 and 1. So we have 1 focus and 1 inspiration token. So now we have that inspiration token we need to play this card. So that's what I was looking for. And let's see if there's anything else we can do. I would like another inspiration token. Now this is exhausted, by the way, so technically it's turned to its side, just to indicate that we can't use it again. And here you can see every hero within range gains an inspiration token and an armor token if I were to play this, but I didn't. Okay, so before we make up our mind on what to do next, we got to roll this. And so now I got, I don't even know what that is, like a lightning, it's an energy bolt, or it's a yellow. We call it the circular thing, or the circle. So that's the next item. Caffeine break. Okay. I may be trying to be a little too perfect here, but I want to get another inspiration token. Oh, I can. Okay, so let's go back. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to play this card here. And it's an action, so we're going to use our second action. Now, you could do it in any order. So we're going to do the bottom part first. See the diamond there? Gain 1 inspiration and 1 armor token. So we're going to do that first. So I'm going to put this down. And yes, I'm going to give an inspiration. And then an armor token looks like this. And I'm going to give that to Ulrich. And what armor does is it blocks hits that are made on us, only the physical kind. And the actual card we're playing, I will put up here. And yes, we used the other diamond here. So now we got a fire. Okay, so the card says, we may move 3 spaces and attack with the orange skill. Okay, and then before rolling dice for this test, you may discard an inspiration to reduce the defense by 1. And here's Ulrich's card, so you can see what his orange is as well. Okay, so he has 2 inspiration tokens. I'm going to put those on him. And the reason why this is important is because I'm thinking of using the inspiration that's written on there to reduce the armor of one of these guys. And then also, we have a card. Oh, the pendant. His pendant that he has lets him use inspiration as well. So let's not get ahead of ourselves. There's so much going on, so much interaction between cards and components. So first thing the card says is you may move up to 3 spaces. So I want to get out of the way of other players so they can come in and beat stuff up too. So this particular thing allows me to lower their defense by 1, which means that they get to reduce their armor. So, for example, the cannibal here has an armor of 1, and this guy in the corner has an armor of 2, which is really nasty, but I can't get to him because my range is only 1 on this particular attack. See right here? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move the full 3, 1, 2, 3, and get in front of the cannibal there, and we're going to attack the cannibal because he has a 1 armor thing, and let's try to take him out. Okay? So that's what I'm going to do. The attack is orange, and my orange skill is 2. So I get to roll 2 dice, and I get to reduce the armor by 1. So let me grab the cannibal. I'm doing the blue one, so that's the one in front of Hightower here. So this is our cannibal. So that one got negated, and he has 7 hit points. So that's who we're attacking. Alright, so what else do we need to know? I'm going to use my pendant, but we'll do that in a second. And we get 2 dice. I could use my pendant after heroes roll dice, so let's do this. So I roll 2 dice, and here you can see there's 1 success and 2 successes, and then I could use a focus to make it a 3rd if I want. Okay? That would be 3 hits out of the 7 that I need. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this card. Illuminatory Pendant. I'm going to exhaust it. After a hero within range rolls dice for a test, you may discard 1 inspiration to add a critical to the result. So I'm going to use both of these inspirations. They're both spent. One to reduce his armor by 1, the other one to add a critical result. So we're going to add a crit to this. So I'm going to exhaust this card. And then what that does is that lets me add a critical to the roll. So now I have 1, 2, 3 hits with a potential 4th, depending on what I do with that. But the critical lets me roll again. And now I have 1, 2, 3, 4 hits, and that's a potential 5th. I won't be able to kill it. So I'm going to take the token for this. I'm not going to spend a token, I'm taking one. So Ulrich now has 2 of them. It's nice to store those tokens up and use them later. I am getting a solid 4 hits on this guy. And so yes, this guy is going to take 1, 2, 3, 4 damage. And that, I know, required a lot of explanation, but as you start to understand things, this will go a lot quicker. Okay, and Ulrich still has 1 more turn for the longest turn ever done in Altar Quest history. We don't have a lot of cards left. We don't have any inspiration left, so I'm going to just use the Sword of Ulrich, and we're going to just whack that guy 1 more time. This card, by the way, is gone, and goes into his discard pile. And so the next thing is we're going to use that Sword of Ulrich, and we're going to just attack with straight up red dice. Okay? And we can exhaust a diamond or a fire to deal 1 damage to an enemy within range, and the range is only 1. Okay? And it doesn't have to be the same enemy we're attacking, but if you'll notice, we do have some fire here, so we're going to do exactly that. We're going to do that, but we'll resolve that later. So let's do the 3 dice, and let's attack the cannibal again. Here you can see I got 2 hits and then a 3rd. He has 1 armor. The cannibal has 4 hits on it. He needs 3 more to die. This time I will spend the token, and basically we get 2 hits on him, because the first token has to negate the armor, and the second and third go through. So he now has 6 total damage, and if you're observant enough, if I would have spent his other token earlier, that guy would actually be dead. So I made a poor choice. But that's okay. That's how this game is, and I also think it's not as big of a deal. We're still going to kill them. Now, here's the thing. I get to exhaust this fire to do 1 more damage, so I'm going to kill him anyways. And so now I got 3 of these squiggly lines. 3 of the wave dice. Alright, so I exhausted the sword, and we're going to kill the cannibal. So 1 final death to the cannibal. He takes 1 more damage, and that will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 1 more is 7. And anytime you deal damage, it bypasses all armor. So that is done. The cannibal is dead, and a couple things happen. 1, you just put the cannibal into a discard pile, And then the party gets a supply token every time you kill one. And that rule, by the way, is buried in the back of the book in a place that is annoyingly not where you expect it to be. And then you just take the miniature and remove it from the game. So we already killed one of the 4. And we still have 3 more heroes to go. And Ulrich's turn is officially ended. So we got 3 more to go. I'm an hour and 24 in. Yeah, that sounds about right. It'll definitely go quicker, folks. Now, the next thing we want to do is, before we choose who the next hero is going to be that gets to go, you want to look at the dice. There's 1, 2, 3 of these wave dice that use the air. And you want to get a hero that's going to use air to, we want to use up some of those dice. Because other heroes don't use the air at all. Like Hightower doesn't. Ulrich doesn't. But guess what? The musician, when you sing, it uses air. The musician happens to use a lot of air. So it's Willow's turn. And you get to make decisions just like that. The order of the players does not have to be predetermined. So the person that's going to go now is Willow. And you can see there with Willow, right on the bottom, it says exhaust. And it has a picture of the air. It says place 1 melody token on a hero, character card, or an enemy card. So what does the melody tokens do? We haven't explained that. The melody tokens will allow you to, if you need let's say you need a diamond, because there's no diamond right now on the altar dice, you can play a melody token and it counts as any symbol you want it to count as. And then you actually don't use the dice. So you don't touch the dice, you just discard a melody token and it counts as if it were one of those symbols. So it's to be quite honest, it's quite awesome. It lets you basically, it's a wild card symbol, and you could use it for anything. Now, you'll notice that it says you could place one on an enemy. Why would you do that? Well, what that is if the enemy were to use a diamond, let's say it uses a fire, and there's a fire you could see on there, the altar dice. What you would do is you take that token off of the enemy, and it cancels the enemy. So the enemy had a chance to use the altar dice matched, and it would have done something nasty to you. And what you would do is you would take that melody token off of the enemy. It's almost like, like the bard, charm them or whatever. And so the enemy won't use the altar die, and basically you cancel their ability. So if you have an enemy that has a really nasty thing that oh my gosh, we don't want to let the enemy get, fire. Just put one of those on an enemy, and then you get to cancel it. Okay? But I'm not doing that. I'm putting it on the hero, and the hero I'm putting it on is Ulrich. Because Ulrich needs his diamonds, so he can place inspiration tokens. Ulrich is very weak without his inspiration tokens. But yes, one is going on Ulrich, and there you go. From the start of the game, we already used one of these, and guess what I just rolled again? We got another one. All right. I, however, have more that I can use. The first thing we have here is a feat. Every hero has feats. That's not the 2 feet that they're walking on, but the FEAT feat. A feat does not cost an action to play. Each hero with a melody token heals 1 damage. Each enemy with a melody token suffers a damage. So that's a reason why you would give one to an enemy. And by the way, it doesn't remove the token. They keep the token. So the feat is awesome. Okay, then the wavy part. Each hero may either gain a melody token or discard a melody token to attack. So they just get the straight up attack. And then guess who gets the benefit from a red attack? Ulrich uses red attack. Okay, targeting an enemy adjacent to them. So this is a really good, I was going to say melody. Willow Banks, and Ulrich, as far as I'm concerned, they got married, and the game just never told you, because they're perfect together. So, do I want to use that card right now? Well, I mean, we have the air symbol, so there's a temptation. But it'd be really nice to get melody tokens out there, right? On enemies, on Ulrich, on other people, because what it also does is it does damage and heals, and I don't want to use it just for the little part at the bottom. So let's see what else we can do. We have another feat called Merry Minstrel. So she can test. For each success, she may place a melody token on a hero character card or enemy card. And then we can, with a diamond, choose a hero to perform an action and give out a free action. So that's actually really, really good. And then we also have a reaction, play before an enemy activates, to place a melody token on the enemy. Then choose a hero to gain one. And then there's a fire part of it that says each hero may gain a melody or discard one to gain 2 focus. So these melody tokens are the thing. They're the Jizbaum. Okay, so... And then she has Braving the Dark, where she can do a search. And in the search, she gets +1 for the test if she has at least 1 melody token on her own character card. And she can also gain a supply. Okay, excuse me. I keep wanting to call her Melody because that's the name of the tokens. It's Melody tokens. She has a slingshot that lets her attack. And then she can exhaust. Yeah, so, alright, let's do a move with Melody. We got to get her into the action. So 1 action point. 1, 2, 3. Move. That's one of her 3. And then her slingshot has a range of 5, but we got to move again. So we're going to move one more time. And we're going to go 1, and then 2, 3, and get next to the fungus, right? She's next to these things. Okay? They use orange for searching, the fungus does. And her orange skill is not bad. It's not the best, but it's not bad. And so she's used 2 of her 3 actions, though. She only has 1 more left. So she could just straight up do attack and then use an air die to deal 1 damage to an enemy within range. And the card that I'm thinking about is this one. So that would get rid of one of those dice. The other thing she could do is she can test her charisma, and for each success she places a melody token on something. And that could be a hero or somebody else. It's also a piece of her equipment, and that's this. I think they both have powerful uses right now. The one on the left allows us to use up one of those dice, so it gets a different symbol, possibly. The one on the right gives out melody tokens, so we don't care what the dice say, and we give melody tokens to other people, so they can use whatever symbol they'd like. To be quite honest, I wish I had 6 more actions with her. I mean, every card she has is wonderful. But I'm going to have to pick one. The one on the left does damage, potentially, although she's only going to roll 2 dice with that one, so it's not quite as good. The one on the right would do some damage. Or no, it would give out focus, but it needs water drops, which we don't have. So we're going to go ahead and do the one on the left right now. And that's just what happens when we don't have enough actions. So we're going to do the slingshot. And I'm going to slingshot the yellow monster that's in the way there. And then I'm going to do this exhaust here to deal 1 damage to an enemy within range. And I did roll a blue water. Okay, we can deal the damage to an enemy within range right now. So remember I was telling you, this guy has 2 armor. These 2 only have 1 armor. This one has 2. Really hard to hit. So when you get a deal damage, which bypasses armor, we want to hit her. So I'm going to deal, and the slingshot has a range of 5. So where Willow's at, it's 1, 2, 3. So I can easily hit that character, and that's the one in front of Ulrich. So we did 1 damage and bypassed the 2 armor. That's like the equivalent of 3 successes. Okay, and then we get to roll 2 dice, and we're going to attack the one in yellow. The yellow monster there. So we got a hit, and a crit. And then another hit, so that's 3. So 1, 2, 3, and I know after you play for a while you get used to it, but people do have trouble seeing that that's a crit and these are regular hits. But alright, 3 hits against the yellow. The yellow has 1 armor, so only 2 hits get through. So we're going to, and I know we're going to speed this up eventually, but I'll put this in front of you. So 3 successes, 1 is canceled by this armor, and then 1, 2 get through. He needs 4 more before he dies. And Willow's turn, unfortunately, though, is already over. So that was all Willow could do. And I forgot, we have to place Huey on the map. Huey is our ally. Okay, so what should we do next? Huey's going to go. So he can move 4 spaces. 1, 2, 3, and we'll just go here for 4. He'll back up a space. He's going to attack the guy in yellow. And, well, let's get this out of the way. Huey, Lewis in the news, he moves up to 4 spaces, then attacks with a magic attack, which is 2 dice. His range of his attack is 4. He can use a water to change 2 alter dice to results of our choice. So we can just change the dice, and that's why we're picking him. Alright, but before he does that, let's attack. And we're going to attack the guy in yellow. And there's a crit and a hit. And another hit. So he did 3 hits, and it's the same deal. The guy in the yellow is going to take 2 more damage. He's at 4 out of 6 towards dying. Now, remember, Huey's card uses a water, and so we reroll that. We got another fire here. Didn't I use a fire? No, I didn't. Okay, so I get to change 2 dice, and I'm going to change these 2, because the other 2 players don't seem to use these. Actually, Rowan can use this one. We'll do a fire one. We'll re-roll these 2. So there we go. I will take that, I guess. One of them re-rolled to the same thing. So there we are. That's our situation. And it's time for the next player to go. And we should probably have Rowan go. I'm just thinking. Rowan's got a very interesting set of cards. So the Trapper Rope, for example, we're going to exhaust it with the diamond. Place your figure in any space within range. The range is 3. So Rowan is just going to immediately go 1, 2, 3 spaces for free. That doesn't even cost an action. Okay? And then here, we can exhaust this to move 2 spaces, ignoring enemies and any trigger effects. And then I can discard a focus to gain a supply. So I'm going to move 2 spaces, 1, 2, like so. Actually, his knife has a range of 1. Yeah, if I'm going to attack, I guess that's what I'm going to do. I got to look at his cards real quick. I have attack cards that use more range because he can throw his knife. You know what? I'm going to just stay where I am right now. I actually have a pretty cool plan. Alright. One thing I forgot to do. When Ulrich von Liechtenstein ended his turn, he draws a new card. So he got this one. And the same for Willow. She got a new card as well. Okay. Alright, so back to this guy. He hasn't spent any actions yet. He just used the exhaust feature on his cards. And we now have these symbols. Okay, so we still got 3 actions to do. Right now, he's next to the yellow guy, who's 2 hit points away from dying. And I really would have liked to have had a... Oh, you know what? I made a big mistake right here. For Huey, when we spent the water, you get to change it to any dice results we choose. So remember, this rolled back to a wavy thing? We actually wanted to choose this. And here's why. Because of the bury knife. So with the bury knife, we can attack with red, and then exhaust this to deal 1 damage to an enemy within range, which is just 1. So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to attack with the knife, and I'm just going to put it over the rope for now, so we have more space here for rolling. We're going to roll 2 dice, and I have 2 hits. Now remember, the guy only has 1 armor, so only 1 hit was through. So this Raglan Burner, I'm just going to put it on here for you to look at. He only took 1 hit, and you can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's 1 away from the 6 needed to kill him. But that's where this comes in. We're going to use this to deal 1 damage to an enemy within range. And now we get that wavy back. So the knife did its job. So now we killed enemy number 2. And we get a supply. And I forgot that with this one I could discard a focus to gain a supply. So he would have done that. So we actually got another supply. Alright, and then these damage tokens go away. 2 out of 4 are dead. That's not bad. Rowan still has 2 actions left to go. Okay, so what do we do next? If you look at the situation, Rowan is here, and there's your 2 guys harassing him. So Rowan is going to do Buryland Instincts. So it's an action, so this will be his second action. And I will put it up on your screen here. So it has a range of 5, and it says attack, and it's in green, so it's really hard to read the green ones, but it says attack, and it's a green attack. Rowan has 3 green, so it's a good attack for him. Or perform an interact. You may move 1 space, ignoring trigger effects, before performing the action. So what does that mean? Well, first of all, he gets to attack with his green dice if he wants. It's a range 5. He can move 1 space away before he does that. Or he can interact. Well, what can he interact with? He can interact with the mushrooms and do a search there. If he searches there, every supply token he gets for interacting with that he gets to do 1 damage to either of those enemies, and he ignores armor. Now, he's going to use his orange skill to do the search, because that's what the fungus says. And here, I'll show you the card. See that? It's an orange search. Rowan's orange skill is less than desirable. So he's not really in a good room for that. That was just bad luck. I mean, if this particular room had a green search, he would have been golden. But if he's next to that mushroom patch during the end of his turn, he will automatically get to do 1 damage to an enemy. So what we're going to do is we're using that card to get his bonus move to here, which puts him next to the feature. And then we're just going to attack normally, right? But which one are we going to attack? Well, the one on the left has 2 armor, and it's really hard to hit. So let's just kill the ones that we can. So we're going to go after the one on the right, although I may not have enough to damage him all the way. So I rolled a 1, 2, 3. He has no focus anymore. He spent it all to save his hide and to get a supply token. So that's 3 successes. And then this little thing here, at the end of the dice, he's just going to gain 1 of these. So now he has 1 back. Okay, so with the 3 successes, 1's defended by armor, and 2 is going to get through, and he does 2 damage to the cannibal. Now, had he attacked the other one, it would have only just done 1 damage. The other one needed 5 total damage to die, so, I don't know, it would have helped, but it is what it is. It's just really hard to hit those damage guys. Or armor guys, I mean. Okay, so that was his second action, and that card goes to his discard pile. Now, it does have a wavy thing that says each character within range may move 1 space ignoring trigger effects, and the range is 5. So we are going to use that. So let me figure out how I'm going to do this. So his range is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Not enough range to make him move, but he can have Ulrich move, and now Ulrich is next to the mushrooms as well. And I'm only moving 1 person, and you might think, well, geez, that's not worth it, but these dice just change to whatever we want. They eventually all come back. Now, another thing that I forgot about is I could have used Hightower's ability. Oh, that's actually a really good idea. Hightower has this. After a character within... Oh, it's got to be within range. Let's not do that. That's why Hightower hasn't been able to help. He needed to go first. Okay, 1 more action for Mr. Rowan Laughlin. I really do enjoy this character. That rope is pretty nice. We can actually stun one of these monsters so they can't even move or attack on their turn. Or we can just keep playing cards. Like, for example, I have Stray Knives, which will do another attack. I can draw a search card, which is pretty awesome. Or I could just do a search, which is pretty awesome. And... So here's what he has. Obviously he has that rope, which I'm considering using. He has 2 copies of this card, which lets him attack with the green, and then he may roll an altar die, anyone he wants. And then he has a professional rummager, where he can search the room to get items, and then he can discard supply to move a space if he wanted. So that could be really powerful. I don't really need that feature, but we do have a diamond here where you can draw a search card, and we have a diamond. We don't want the enemy to use a diamond. So I'm looking over at Hightower here. He does have a diamond ability, so it's not that important to use this yet. It is a nice card though. So I'm going to hold on to that. We're going to do the rope. Exhaust one minion within range and place 2 progress on a trap. We haven't encountered traps yet, so we're going to exhaust a minion within range, and then his turn's over, because that's his third action. Okay, what minion are we exhausting? We're going to exhaust the cannibal here, because I don't think I'm going to be damaging him anytime soon. He doesn't inflict 5 red, so we're going to exhaust him. So what does that mean? When he triggers, all he does is, basically it's like knocking him down, and all he does is stand back up. Okay? So we don't have to worry about him. Now we're just worried about the one with the 2 armor, who also does lots of damage. So don't get me wrong, they're both not very friendly or nice. Okay, last up is Mr. Hightower. And in case you're confused, it is Cedrin Highmore, but we are going to call him Hightower for the rest of the game in nod of Police Academy. So, he is neither tall or black, but we're still calling him Hightower. I already understand some of the comments I'm going to get. Okay, so first thing he's going to do is spend 1 action to move 3 spaces. 1, 2, 3. Next thing. Let's look at his cards. He has 2 copies of Divine Protection. Each character within range gains 1 armor and heals 1 damage, which is awesome. He actually has damage, but this is probably more powerful when there's more damage. And then he can use diamonds to gain an armor and heal damage again. So those we're going to hold on to for a more rainy day than the one we have. He currently has 2 damage. He has Healing Hands. Choose a character to heal 3 damage. And then each character within range may heal 1 and gain a focus. So again, awesome healing cards. If you'll notice, none of them are awesome attack cards. Here is a test. If passed, it's a feat. This is free. No action needed. Either return a prayer card from your discard pile to your hand, or choose a hero to draw a card. You want to wait until you discarded a prayer card, because those are pretty awesome cards. So we are not playing any of his cards today. He just has really good cards, but they're not useful right now. They're more useful later, after we take some more damage. So we're just going to use his basic cards. His basic cards are what? He has a mace, which has a range of 1. And let's get that on the board for you to look at. He has a mace. Let's get his character card out there for you to look at. He has 2 damage. And those are his skills. And yes, we're going to use this gift at the bottom. And then he has the Star of Aluna, which we're definitely going to get to use. So, we already spent 1 action to move. As you can see, he's just on the other side of the door. His mace has a range of 1, so we need to get closer and more personal. We got to be able to smell their breath. All right, we're going to do the bottom part of his character card. It says exhaust. Each character within range heals 1 damage. He's the only one damaged, but we're going to go ahead and do that. We got a fire, and he heals. Diddly and done. He still has 2 more actions. The next one is he's going to move. So we're going to go 1, 2. He has to get up close. And no, you're not allowed to interrupt movement to do an action, if that's what you're thinking. So his movement is all used up. And we have several things for his third action. We're going to attack with his steel mace. It uses his red, which is not that good. We're going to use the diamond to deal 1 damage to an enemy within range. So that is done. We're going to do a damage to the one with 2 armor, because the other guy is knocked out asleep. So we're going to do a damage to the guy with 2 armor. And that guy, I'll put up here. he now has another damage. So he's 2 out of 5 towards dying. Alright, so I'm going to get to roll 2 dice against somebody who has 2 armor. So chances are I'm not going to break through and do a single thing to him. Or so you would think. However, I have the Star of Elune. The Star of Eluna, the bottom piece here, if I exhaust this symbol, after a character within range rolls dice, so I can wait until a character rolls dice before deciding to use it, I can add a critical to the result. If I don't have this symbol, I can just add a regular success to the result. Either way, I'm adding at least 1 hit. The bottom, of course, is better because I could be adding 2 or more hits. We're doing the bottom. So even though I roll 2 dice, I'm going to get a guaranteed hit because of the Star of Eluna. And I rolled this again, which was wonderful. Alright, so Star of Eluna is exhausted for this round. And then he's using his final action to attack with his mace. And I'm going to move the enemy over top of the mace so we have more space here. And let's resolve the roll. So we're going to roll 2 dice. And remember, the Star of Eluna gave me a crit. So I rolled awful. I rolled 2 tokens, 2 focus tokens. But the crit's going to let me roll another die. And it's the 3rd focus token. Oh boy. So here's the deal. He has 2 focus tokens in his hand. He's going to spend both of them to get 3 hits. But then he has 1 more left, which will give him 1 back. And so he will take 1 back. One of the errata from my first campaign is you have to have the token to spend it. You can't say, oh, I'm going to get one. So like in this case, you could say, like let's say you had no tokens. You can't say, well, I can just get one and then spend it. No, you have to have it in your inventory to be able to do that. So if you have none in your hand, you have to just take 2. But that's not the case here. So we just applied 3 hits to it, which unfortunately for us is only 1 damage to this guy. So you can see he's at 3 out of 5. Alright, so it wasn't quite enough to kill him, and we are out of actions. Okay, I'm going to finish up the round, and then we will end the video. This is getting to be a 2-hour-long video, but we'll go ahead and do that. Okay, so what happens when the round's over? Well, let's put cards away first. Well, I'll put this up here for you. First thing that happens is the threat turn. So we go through every player's threat area and resolve it. So, for example, Rowan's threat area is empty. Willow's threat area is not. And we get to choose, by the way, the order we do this. So Willow's threat area has a concussed or stunned or whatever word you want to use. He was exhausted. So all that happens is this particular monster, the cannibal, refreshes. And that's it. His turn's over. So he doesn't do anything. He doesn't do anything else. That was what makes it the rope awesome. So then we get to Hightower. His area is empty. And then Ulrich has the Blooder. This one is going to activate. What's it going to do? Well, we look at the activate. He's going to engage, inflict 5 green. Okay? If it was unable to do that, it engages and inflicts 4 blue. So engage means move, and it'll move this many movement points. Okay? So if it wasn't able to hit anybody after moving 5, it'll move another 5, which is a total of 10, and then try to inflict damage a second time. Ignores range and targeting the furthest character, but only if it's the second time. Okay? So basically it throws the axe if it's the second time. The first time it engages, it has to do... Oh, sorry, my camera. I'm being a little wonky with the camera here. The first time has to work. Okay, and then if there's a diamond, it'll do 1 damage to each character within range, and it gains a threat token. This is why I tried very hard to make sure they had no diamonds when it became their turn. And he's not the only one that uses diamonds. So, okay. So with that said, Who do they engage? They always go after the closest character. That's per the game rules. And if there are more than one closest, then you get to choose. But in this case, there's only one closest, and that's Hightower. So he's going to do an Inflict 5, which is a green attack. And guess who has the worst green rating of all the party? Yep, you guessed it. It's Mr. Hightower. So they're doing an Inflict 5, and his green rating is just a 1. So he gets to roll 1 die, and there was 1 success. So basically, he blocked one of the 5, and it became a 4. However, his character card has an armor on it, so he blocks another one, because he gets to block Inflict. So that 4 damage became 3. But unfortunately, that's where his luck runs out. So he takes 1, 2, 3 damage, and that's just the luck of the draw there, because he was the closest. And what's funny is, you could game the system and say, okay, Rowan has the highest green value, so let's put him next to that character, because they'll attack Rowan. The AI is not smart enough to look at who's the weakest and go after them. Sword and Sorcery has that kind of logic, right? Where it'll go after the strongest or the weakest or the whateverest. This game does not have that kind of logic. It's always the closest. So you can game the system by ensuring that whoever's the closest has the better chances of surviving attacks. That's entirely up to you. The only thing that hampers that strategy is sometimes the guy who's going to be the closest, you need him for other things, like in this case. But I'm not worried about taking 3 damage. That's not the end of the world. So it's only if that keeps happening that this becomes a problem. Alright, so moving on. We've now finished the threat fate turn. Okay? And I know it's hard to read, but yes, we activated the text and we go left to right. So now we do the villain turn, which is in the middle there. And in the villain turn, we do 2 things. First of all, the Gert card activates. Right now, Gert has not spawned. So we do what is written here, and you'll notice there's another diamond, which doesn't trigger because there's no diamonds on the Ultra Dice. Each hero must either discard 1 armor token or resist 3 blue. Now, resist is like a magical effect, and armor does not work against resist. So if your character has armor on it, natural or otherwise, it just shoots right through. But you do get to defend against a resist check. So, for example, we're going to start with Willow. She has 2 blue in her skill set, so she has to do resist 3. That is a crit. And she resists 2 here, and she could spend a focus to get rid of the 3rd, and she will do that. So she's down to 1 focus. Now we move to Rowan. He also has 2 blue. And you can see he successfully blocked 1. He could spend a focus to block the other. He's not going to. He's just going to take 2 damage. Alright, the rule, or the activate says each hero, so Huey does not have to do this check. Ulrich has 2 blue. So he's going to roll that situation, and he doesn't want to spend his focus token, so he will also take 2 damage. So now everybody's starting to get damage on their card. And then Hightower actually has 3 blue, and you can see there's 1, 2, and then he can spend 1 to get 1, which would make 3. He does have 1 to spend. So you're going to spend 1 to get 1, and that'll give him the 3. So 1, 2, spend 1 to get 1. So that's his 3 successes, and then he has 1 extra. So he actually gets another focus token. Alright, so that was the Gert activation. But the Gert deck, there is also a Gert deck. So now we have to draw one of these Gert cards. So we're going to take this Gert card and we're going to draw it and do what that says. The weight of leadership. Each minion moves up to 3 spaces towards the, I can't even read it through the camera here, through the nearest character. Then each character adjacent to an enemy must inflict 5. If there is no minion in play, each hero must draw a lurker card. We have minions, and they're both awake, so both of them are attacking, and guess who they're attacking? they're attacking Hightower because he's the closest. So Hightower is getting punched hard. This was a bad card to draw, but there was nothing I can do about that, so we're going to have to just deal with it. So Hightower is getting attacked with a Might 5 attack by both of them. And the wording on this couldn't be worse, could it? Look at this. Each character adjacent to an enemy must inflict 5. It makes it sound like the character is attacking the enemy. Inflict is only ever an enemy attack on you. So, that's just what the keyword means. So it's just the weirdest way to word it. But yes, you have to do an inflict 5. And so it's even 3 spaces towards the nearest character. The nearest character is Hightower. So he's going to take an inflict 5 2 times. One for each of those enemies up there who are already next to him. So they're not going to move. Okay. So with that being said, Hightower here has 2 red defense. So he has to go up against an inflict 5. There's a crit. So there's 1 and 2 tokens. Okay, so he has a natural armor of 1. So he blocks 2. This crit blocked 1, his natural armor blocked 2. So that means 3 damage is coming in. He's going to spend 1 to get 1 to block 3, so he takes 2 damage. Now it's time to get a little worried about him. He now has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 damage out of 12. He's halfway dead. And we're not done. Now he has to endure again. So we got this and this for him. Okay, so that's a regular success. So he successfully blocks 2, and he is going to spend a token to block 3. And then his natural armor blocks 4. So now that inflict 5 only does 1 damage to him. So he's up to 7 total damage. Okay, the villain phase is over. We survived. Now we go to the quest phase. Okay, in the quest phase, we do things in this order. First thing we do is we do the activate on the quest card, and then we go to each location and activate those in order that the location cards were revealed. Okay, so the activate. Each hero who controls a clue card, nobody controls a clue card, so nothing happens there. And if there's quest tokens on this card, each hero must draw a threat. There are no quest tokens, so nothing happens. Okay, now we go to the fungus. And there's a top half. There's 2 cards here. And they activate from top to bottom. So we're going to activate the fungus. This is what the feature does. And it doesn't matter if there's a card attached. That feature is going to activate no matter what. And then the card on the bottom here will activate no matter what. So what does the fungus feature say? If a hero is adjacent to that feature, it gets to do 1 damage to any enemy in the room. So both of those enemies are in the room, and this particular one is 2 damage away from dying. Okay, and this is the one with the 2 armor. So this type of damage bypasses the armor. And just a quick reminder, we put 3 heroes of our 4 up against that feature. So now you know why I was so obsessed with doing that. So I'm going to get to dish out 3 damage, and guess where 2 of it's going to go? Bing, bing, we have a winner chicken dinner. That one is dead. Alright, PUBG, we would be happy. Alright, so that's 2 of the 3 damage. We killed 1. Don't forget to take your supply when you kill somebody. We got a nice little pile of supply here, building up. Alright, and then the cannibal is going to take a damage for the 3rd. And he's 4 away from dying. And so then we adjust the board. This goes away. Bing and bing. And that, my friends, ends the round. Everything refreshes. If you had a card that was exhausted, when the player turn starts, that refreshes. And then we rinse and repeat until we win the game. So I'm well over 2 hours, so I'm going to end here and get this uploaded. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay awesome, except for that jerk that wrote me the email a few days ago. As far as I'm concerned, I'll look up his name and name him, but he's not welcome here. I don't even know why he came to my channel. But everybody else, stay awesome and stay healthy and safe, including the jerk. Stay healthy and safe. Thanks you. We'll see ya.